Hello friends, it's Tammy at the library. Welcome back to story time. We are going to read about scarecrows today. And then we're going to do a little scarecrow craft. You're going to make your own little scarecrow. All right, our first book is called The Little Scarecrow Boy. Once upon a time, in a cornfield, there lived a scarecrow and his scarecrow wife and their little scarecrow boy. Every day of the world, Old Man Scarecrow went into the cornfield to make faces at crows. And every day of the world, his little scarecrow boy wanted to come too. And every day of the world, Old Man Scarecrow said, "No, little boy, you can't go. You're not fierce enough to scare a crow. Wait till you grow." So every day the little scarecrow boy stayed at home all day and just grew. Every day out in the field, Old Man Scarecrow waved his arms and made terrible faces. He made such terrible faces that the scarecrows nearby lost their feathers at the sight of him there, and they flew far away, far away. Every evening when the sun went down, Old Man Scarecrow came rattling home. All evening he sat in his scarecrow house, teaching his little scarecrow boy how to make fierce faces. Old Lady Scarecrow whistled through her straw teeth at the looks of them there. But early in the morning when the sun came up, it was the same old, "No, no, little boy, you can't go. You're not fierce enough to scare a crow. Wait till you grow." So the little scarecrow boy stayed at home all day and just grew. Then one day, after the little boy had learned all 6 of his father's terrible faces so that he could make them one after the other, he decided to run away. Early the next morning, he would go out into the cornfield and he would frighten a crow. So before the sun was up, or Old Man Scarecrow was up, or Old Lady Scarecrow was up, the little scarecrow boy slipped out of bed, dressed quietly on tiptoe, and went quietly out of the house. Over to the cornfield, up on his father's post, in his father's place. It was a fine shining morning with the sun gleaming green down the corn blades. Crows circled in the air far away over the trees. The little scarecrow boy waved his arms through the air. He had never felt fiercer in all his life. And then came flying a big black crow. Oh, oh, oh! The little scarecrow made his first fierce face, and still came the flying big black crow. Oh, oh, oh! The little scarecrow boy made his second fierce face, and still came the flying big black crow. His third face, oh, oh, oh! Time to go! So the little scarecrow boy ran, and he ran down the corn rows. The black flapping wings made a noise now, and looking back, he could see the blue sky through the ragged feathers of the nearest crow. He ran and he ran, then he stopped, his fourth face, and still came flying the big black crow. So he ran and he ran and he ran and he ran, and the crow flew and he flew and he flew and he flew, and the little scarecrow boy ran. And then he made his fifth and his next fiercest face of all, and still came flying the big black crow. The little boy had only one face left now, and hardly any breath. Even so he stopped, with his arms stretched wide, and his head and his fingers drooping on his hands. He gave a big crow, the 6th face, and whoa! The crow flew backwards, flew through the air, feathers flying everywhere, until there wasn't even a shadow of a crow on the land. The scarecrow at last. The little scarecrow boy knew that he was as fierce a scarecrow as there was in all the cornfields in all the world. And then he saw a shadow in front of him, and he looked up, and there behind him, the old scarecrow, his father. and his father was proud of his little boy who made all 6 faces at the crows. And he picked up his little scarecrow boy in his little scarecrow arms, and they went home to breakfast. And when the little scarecrow grew up, he was the fiercest scarecrow in all the fields in all the world. All right, there's our book, The Little Scarecrow Boy. I have one more book for you called Otis and the Scarecrow. It was summer when the Scarecrow first came to the farm where the friendly little tractor named Otis lived, back when the corn was tall and ripe. Otis recalled how happy the crows had scattered at first. They wanted nothing to do with the Scarecrow, which made the farmer very happy. Otis was also happy. A new friend had come to live on the farm. But when Otis went to welcome him, the Scarecrow didn't smile or say hello. He just stood there, a sour look on his face, staring at the cornfield. After a while, Otis left him alone. When the farm animals came by to greet the Scarecrow, once again he didn't smile or say hello. He just stood there, that sour look on his face, staring at the cornfield. The animals didn't know what to think. Who was this new creature? The horse curled his lips at the Scarecrow's musty smell. The ducks pointed at his tattered clothes. The little calf and the puppy were frightened by him. Finally, the bull snarled, huffed, and turned away, and the Scarecrow stood there alone. Summer passed, and by, the crows came back around. They perched, picked, and pecked at the Scarecrow. Otis noticed that the Scarecrow didn't shoo them away. He just stood there with that sour look on his face, staring off at the cornfield. Otis puffed a soft sigh and turned to catch up with his friends. Autumn eventually arrived. The days grew shorter and cooler. Harvest time had left the fields bare, except for the plump pumpkins dotting the fields orange. Otis began pulling wagons filled with children eager to pick out a pumpkin to carve into a jack-o'-lantern. The farm looked different, but Otis loved the changing seasons, and he worked and played as hard as ever. Put, puff, puttity chuff. It was a splendid time on the farm for being together with family and friends. The cool air drifted through the hills, made the animals more rambunctious than ever. A simple game of follow the leader turned into a reckless face over the rolling hills. A game of hide and seek turned into a rowdy rendition of Ring Around the Rosie. The animals playfully circled Otis as he sat counting 1 putt, 2 puff, 3 puttity, 4 chuff. When Otis tuckered out from the game, he headed up to the apple tree. His frisky friends would join him. And when they were all sitting together, Otis would challenge everyone to a different game. The quiet game. The quiet game is a contest in which everyone must stay quiet and still. No sounds, no laughing, no snorting, quacking, giggling, or puffing. The player who stays quiet the longest wins. Otis knew that the animals loved playing any game, even the one that challenged them to sit still. To start the game, he would surge his engine to get everyone's attention, take in a deep breath of air, and let out a long, soft put, puff, puttity, shh. Otis would sit quietly and look over the farm. There was a mud pond full of autumn rains. There were plump pumpkins dotting the fields orange. There were shocks of corn fodder in a row. And there still was the Scarecrow, all alone, staring sternly at the empty field. The puppy was always the first to lose the quiet game. He just couldn't sit still. The bull would twitch his nose, which made the little calf giggle. This made the bull chuckle with a snort. The bull's snort would amuse the ducks, and their bottoms would wiggle. As they held back their giggles, the sight of the ducks' wiggling bottoms would amuse the horse, so much that he would roll on the ground, neighing with laughter. At this, the ducks would quack out loud, and soon everyone would be laughing, snorting, quacking, and giggling. This always left Otis the winner, but a big grin on his face as he sat under the apple tree with his friends. One day, a cold rain set in. Otis and the animals ran for cover under the apple tree. They huddled together for warmth as Otis looked over the farm. There was the overflowing mud pond. There were the shiny, wet pumpkins and the soaked corn shocks, all in a row. And there, swaying back and forth in the cold wind and rain, was the Scarecrow. Otis couldn't take his eyes off him. He thought about how the Scarecrow must feel. Otis stood up. He marched down the hill, puff, puff, puttity chuff, and crossed into the empty cornfield. Without hesitation, Otis chuffed and puffed straight up to the Scarecrow. But back under the apple tree, the animals watched intently. Otis looked up into the painted eyes of the Scarecrow and smiled. The Scarecrow didn't smile back. He just stared off at the empty cornfield as always. The two of them stood quietly in that big field as the wind and rain battered them. Then Otis turned his body around and backed right up alongside the Scarecrow, and with a chuff, he sat down next to him. Suddenly, the little calf and the puppy stamped down on the hillside, crossed into the cornfield, and curled right up next to Otis. Gradually, the cow and the horse ambled down the hillside. Before long, the ducks waddled their way down, too. And finally, the big bull sauntered down into the field, joining the others. Otis surged his engine to get everyone's attention, took a deep breath of air, and let out a long, soft put, put, puttity shh. Otis and the animals sat quietly until the puppy couldn't sit another minute. The bull snorted on the calf's ears, and the ducks wiggled their bottoms, and soon everyone was giggling, quacking, laughing, and even puffing. Everyone except the Scarecrow, of course, who never uttered a sound. Yet, as Otis watched, he couldn't be sure, but he thought he might have seen the Scarecrow smile. Either way, Otis thought, the Scarecrow didn't look so lonely anymore, surrounded by friends. The end. Okay, now it's time to do our craft. And the first thing that we're going to do, I guess I should show you what you need. In your kits, you should find 6 popsicle sticks, a piece of cardboard, glue. You will need paper. There should be some yellow, orange, and white paper. You will need a marker. This is not in your kit. You'll need either a black or brown marker. You will need a pair of scissors, and in your kit should be a paintbrush, and you will have some brown and white paint. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by spreading glue all over our cardboard. Now, you probably want to use the side. This is the side that you want facing out, so you'll want to spread glue on this side. So spread glue all over this side, and then you're going to line the cardboard with your sticks. I found that it was easier to put the first stick in the middle and then work my way out. So we're lining them with 5 of the sticks, and then you'll need to let that dry. After you let this dry, it'll be time to paint. The last stick will go over the top of the scarecrow. We're going to paint it first though. So the first thing we're going to do is paint the bottom half white. This last stick we will paint brown, and the top of the scarecrow we will paint brown. I did one already, which is why I didn't glue or paint this. So this part's going to be white, and this last stick you will paint brown and then glue it on. And this top part you will paint brown as well. Now, before you glue, after you get done painting, when it is time to glue this stick on, what you need to do is cut out your straw pieces. See the little pieces of straw that are on the scarecrow? We're gonna glue these on when we glue this last popsicle stick on. So we're gonna cut these out first, and you cut out your straw pieces however you would like, whatever you think straw should look like. I used 3 on each side. And we're just cutting straw pieces. Okay, and then what I did was just line them up, and I glued them on. Just line them up and glue them on. There we go. And then you will glue, oops, this needs to go down just a little bit farther. You will glue your last popsicle stick to your scarecrow. It works better when there's actually glue on the scarecrow. Okay, there we go. So, and this is what it will look like at this point. All right, after that, it will be time to make some eyes, a nose, and a mouth. So for the eyes, you can use your white paper and cut out your eyes. And you can make your eyes, you can cut out your eyes any way you would like. Whatever you think a scarecrow's eyes should look like. Mine aren't going to be very even, I don't think. Whatever you think a scarecrow's eyes should look like is how you should cut them. I need to cut mine a little bit differently here. Okay, and I'm gonna use my black marker to make my little eyeball. Okay, and then it will be time to glue this on. I'm just going to put some glue right on the back of this guy. Oops. And glue it right on. I need to make a different one here, I think. There we go. I like that one better. Okay. Now I'll glue them on. All right, after you get your eyes on, there we go. After you get your eyes on, it's time to make a nose. Little pumpkin nose or a little scarecrow nose. The pumpkin noses and the scarecrow noses look alike, I think. Okay, now I have my eyes and my nose on. Now I'm going to make a mouth. And I used the black marker to make the eyes, and I think I'm going to use the brown marker to make the mouth. And you can make the mouth however you want. I think I'm going to make some squiggly lines. There we go. And I'm going to make a few more lines in here to make him look like a sewed-on mouth. There we go. So I have my mouth. Now, in your kit, this first scarecrow that I made, I cut out a little flower and put up here. So if you like a little flower on the top of him, this is the template that I used for that flower. You can cut that out if you would like and color it and glue that on and maybe put a little gem in there if you have something like that at home. Otherwise, I found these little flowers I can send, and I think I'm going to glue one of these flowers on. I'm going to glue that little flower right to the top right there, and my snowman is complete. All right, I hope you enjoyed our story time today, and have fun with your scarecrows. See you next time. Bye-bye.